particularly like, say, impala. If you just sneak a little bit forward and see if you can't see the other one. Now, what we were watching just now, of course, was a little bit of a demonstration of the defensive mechanisms that giraffe employ. So that little one that was stamping its feet up and down like that, that's how they defend themselves against predators. Giraffe will lift their rear up onto their back legs and stamp down with their front legs. They can kick with their back legs as well. And I've seen tremendous footage of lions being fairly severely injured by giraffes' front feet. And Liz, oh, I think is it Liz? Sorry, I've lost my train of thought. But a question coming out of Los Gatos, California. Sounds like a fun place to be. Do they bite each other in defense as well? That's Charlene. Charlene, not as far as I know. There's not a great deal of biting. They might do a little bit of allo grooming, and that means that they would groom each other, so they'll sort of pick ticks off each other or give each other a scratch every so often. And there are lots of animals that do that to confirm social bonding. But in terms of biting each other, no, not really. They don't have a particularly strong set of teeth for biting. The only herbivores that really use their teeth as a particularly effective and vicious form of defense would be zebra, that I know of. They do a lot of biting. One just in front of us there, peeping out from the trees. But that one having a grazing giraffe, that's extremely bizarre. Oh look, picking up a bone. Wow, look at that. Picking up a bone. That is not uncommon, everybody, but you read about it, you seldom see it. They're picking up a bone and sucking it for phosphorus. That's apparently why they do it. They need a lot of phosphorus. I'm not sure why they're deficient in phosphorus. That's why they pick up bones and they often suck them. And you often watch giraffe, they wander about the place, they don't seem to, then they move off in one direction and they seem to be communicating, but we often don't know how. And Bree and Claire, question about how they communicate. Do they communicate? Do they make a noise? Bree, Terry and Claire. Tree, Terry and Claire. Question about whether they communicate. Cree, Terry and Claire, perhaps. Sorry, I'm just missing this, missing the name here. Anyway, you want to know about how they eat. Not how they eat, how they communicate. Totally got myself in total fluster here. You heard them grunting earlier. Now, for a long time, we thought giraffe were completely silent. That is becoming less and less the case as we study their behavior. You've heard them grunting. I have heard a cow giraffe making a bellowing noise at a leopard that was trying to eat her young baby that had died of natural causes. And as that leopard came up to try and sort of make off with the young calf, she made a horrible bellowing noise. We also think that they communicate infrasonically. Now, that might sound slightly more mysterious than it actually is. Elephants do it. They are able to communicate in a frequency that is just we can't hear. So their voice boxes will make various sounds that are too low for our ears to pick up. So we think that that's how that's the kind of sound that giraffe make. They also will snort in alarm sometimes. That little one on the left-hand side of your screen has the most wonderful coloration I think I've ever seen on a giraffe. You may also have noticed the one that picked up the bone has lost its tail. Now that could have been to hyenas, it could have been to lions, it could also, and most likely, have been to ticks. Ticks often eat away the top of the tail, and if the giraffe isn't particularly careful, it can become infected and the tail will then come off eventually. It must be extremely painful, I imagine. And it does come off. But certainly it's possible that it was a predator, and while it was running away, the lion, possibly a lion, got hold of the tail and it kind of snapped off. It will not grow back. It is not like a lizard. Very strange atmosphere today, kind of a breezy, cool air. And these giraffe are so inquisitive. I'm sure you saw that with Brent. I'm not sure if he was on foot or if he was in his vehicle, but those giraffe, once they get interested in something, it's wonderful to see them kind of walking around and coming closer and looking and investigating and almost enjoying a sighting of people. And if you're on foot, that is especially the case. If you're on foot ever in Africa, if you ever find yourself out here and you're on foot and you find some giraffe, it's well worth actually spending an hour or two just sitting in front of them, or even lying down on the ground in front of them. They'll come right up to you to have a look. I've had a giraffe investigating me from about maybe 1.5 meters. I was lying on the ground watching it, and it came up to within 1.5 meters, put its head down to try and kind of sniff me and see what I was doing. And that little thing is just fascinated by us. I'm always amazed at the stockiness of the shoulders and the legs. And that, of course, is crucial. That giraffe has to get up and run as a youngster. It must be born, and within half an hour it must be steady on its feet and able to run. Otherwise it will become a meal extremely quickly. And just to people often ask how you age animals and how you age giraffe, and certainly when these giraffes are born, it takes about a week for those horns of theirs to stand up. They're born flat on the head, looks totally ridiculous, and then after a few days they start to stand up, and within a week they are standing up, and after a few weeks they're fused onto the skull, and you don't ever see a kind of gap between them again. And then the other good way, Anna-Marie, to age a giraffe calf is by that little piece of umbilical cord which lasts until it's 3 months old. So if you can see the umbilical cord, you know that the giraffe is probably not yet quite 3 months. It might last a little bit longer in some and a little bit shorter in others. And you can also see, which we were chatting about, there's ossicones or horns, and they stick up when they're a few days old and they fuse to the skull. And of course the difference between the males and the females is that the males start to go bald, a bit like some of us. Andrew and I, or me more so than Andrew of course, and while we don't have ossicones, a bull giraffe has these bald horns. And Georgiana in Illinois, you want to know when it is that those horns start to go bald. It's pretty much when they start fighting. So they'll start necking each other, and giraffe necking is entirely different from human necking. they'll start bashing each other like you was watching with Brent as soon as they get into kind of sub-adulthood. And so once that starts, it'll wear away the hair on top of the horns. And so I would say probably at about maybe 4 or 5 years, they'll start to go bald. Right, let's go across to Brent. He's on foot, different angle, more intimacy on foot in the bush, and so he will show you a few things at the old hyena den. I'll continue from here.
Hey everyone, have a look where I'm hyena den here, and oh, I think I know why you can't hear me. Okay, can you hear me now? And we're right here with one of the old hyena dens, and it has been used before the last one, and so I think the new hyena den is within about 200 meters of here. So we've decided on this morning's walking safari to try find the new hyena den. I know how excited a lot of you guys get when we do find the dens and we get to see those awesome little guys around the den site and that incredible interaction. So we're going to walk around, hopefully. And one of the main reasons I know this den's not active is that I'm not covered in fleas. So if this den was active and I walked up to it, I would literally see all the fleas on my legs. But it is incredible to get close enough to have a look into these holes. And unfortunately I forgot my torch, so we can't show you inside. Well, that is a really nice little update. While we're looking for the hyena den, we've got an update from Chris Rogue, who says there's a hyena at the Djuma Dam camp right now. But we're going to send you off back to Commander Bond. But before we do that, it's quite an important day at WildEarth today. One of our team members is having a birthday, so sing along with us. Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday dear Commander Bond, happy birthday to you. Hooray! Hooray! Hurrah! No more, bye.
I think it's a great pity that Bryan didn't sing more loudly there. Brent, by his own admission, is completely tone deaf. There are very few people in the world that are tone deaf. Brent is one of them, unfortunately. But the sentiment is much appreciated from both of them. Lovely to have a song live. Disconcerting at a hyena den, perhaps. But much appreciated. Thank you. On the occasion of my 23rd birthday. We are now heading south towards Impala Plains. You did hear there was reports of lions calling earlier from the Djuma Dam. We haven't found the track of a lion yet on Djuma. The Nkuhuma Pride, good news everyone, is on Torchwood, and all 5 lionesses, don't know where Junior's gone, but they're okay. Talamati Pride's gone north of Manyaleti. We don't know where the Salala Pride is. So we are just going to look around here, because if you could hear the lions from the Djuma camera, it's just unlikely that they would be so far away that they wouldn't be on the property. So we'll look around for further tracks. Maybe that microphone's better than I think it is. And if we don't find any tracks fairly soon, we'll just pop across to Arathusa and see if there's anything going on there. Obviously, we had the lions calling close to the Arathusa Dam. I'm pretty sure those guys would have found the lions there. Let's say a very chilly breeze blowing through, unseasonably so. thank you. I believe that the well-wishers continue to wish me a happy birthday on the Twitter sphere. Thank you very much. That's very kind of you. Makes me feel like a celebrity. And and Janet would like all the animals to come out and greet me in force. Janet, I share that sentiment profoundly. I hope that they eventually do come out and greet me in force. Likewise, thank you for your advice in dealing with our car, our new car called Rusty. Andrew and I threw about the name Zibi. Maybe we should call Rusty Zibi. Zibi is the Zulu word for rubbish. At the moment we'll leave it with Rusty. It seems to be behaving okay. So lions on a day like today, because it's quite cold, will look for the sun, and so it's quite nice to just check around all the clearings and see if there isn't some sign of them, especially given that they were heard from the Juma Dam camera. And those dogs, you'll be pleased to know, well, you probably won't be pleased to know, I wasn't pleased to know, but they have been found, just not on Juma. They were just north of our boundary, and they've just been found there now. History doesn't relate what happened to the Nyala cow from last night. We did check at Bushwalk Dam, didn't see any sign of her. That Andrew, big hole. ZB's suspension is quite hard. And we were chatting earlier about the corrugations on the roads, or washboard effect that seems to occur on gravel or dirt roads, and I wasn't too sure how it happens, but Gillian, Wisconsin, confirms that I am correct. The faster you go, the faster it happens, and it does happen. It's once that initial kind of corrugation is formed, all of the resonance from the different shock absorbers on different cars, they'll start to resonate at the same kind of bounce, and that will worsen the problem, and so you do need to grade every so often. It doesn't happen so much on these little roads that we drive around on, because we don't drive very quickly on them, but on the main access roads like that southern boundary or on the western boundary, there is often a bit of corrugation. We're driving along here looking for any signs of lions, and for those of you who joined us earlier, you would have noticed that I had to do a fairly static segment where little ZB wouldn't start, or Rusty wouldn't start, and we had a look at some buffalo dung and some zebra dung, and the zebra was a little bit coarser than the buffalo. And Ravi in New York City, you want to know, does that mean that one is more efficient than the other? Ravi, it does. The buffalo is a more efficient digestive system. Rumination is a kind of more modern way of eating food and digesting and extracting as much nutrition as possible from difficult plants. You know, the lignin and cellulose, which are the structural material in plants, are very difficult to digest. But the ruminant is more efficient at doing that than is a zebra. But a zebra has no limit to the amount it can eat. So the thing is with a ruminant is that this front stomach or rumen will eventually fill up to the extent that they have to stop eating, sit down, rechew the food, and then swallow it again. Now that's a very efficient system as long as the radio is now starting to drive me insane. Leopard track. That's an old one. So once the quality of food drops below a certain level, a ruminant will start to lose condition because they must stop eating at a certain stage, regurgitate and rechew. But with a hindgut fermenter like a zebra, while they're not as efficient when the food's good, when the food gets bad, they just process more. They can just process more and more and more and more and more food. So it's a bit of a kind of, I mean, there are pros and cons to both. But that's why the zebra has got slightly coarser food. Coarser dung, sorry. Thank you, Ravi. Insightful question. That is a steenbok. Very un-steenbok-like. It's called a steenbok because it's supposed to stand like a stone. That one was running like a Ferrari. What a terrible, terrible simile. On we go. Thank you very much, Patty, who has suggested that you get a Kickstarter together for me so that I can take my game drives in an Aston Martin DB10, like my hero, James Bond. Thank you. I would appreciate that greatly, so if you could all get that underway, a Kickstarter for my new Aston Martin DB10, that would be marvellous. Thank you very much. Seen a James Bond quite as bald as me, but I mean, there's always a time. He's eventually going to get old, isn't he? Right. If we do not find lion tracks here, to go across to Arathusa, I think. And I believe there's a little bit of a few of you joking about the fact that I said I was 23 years old. I don't think that's very kind at all. 23 is not that old. Is it, Andrew?
Spring chicken.
Spring chicken. There we go. Wind coming out of the south now. It's really quite unusually strong and chilly for this time of year. Nice elephant tracks on the road. We will be lucky to find them. I saw now, one of my favorite parts of the summertime is the arrival of the cuckoos. And the cuckoos, we have lots of them here. We have striped cuckoos, red-chested cuckoos, African cuckoos, Diederik's cuckoos, Klaas's cuckoos, sometimes emerald cuckoos, and I'm leaving one out, Levalliant's cuckoos. Lots of different kinds of cuckoos. Now, Merrick, you've asked about starlings and whether starlings go into other birds' nests, toss out the eggs, lay their eggs there, and then have nothing to do with raising the chicks. That's cuckoos. Starlings don't do that. Starlings are parasitized by some of the cuckoos, but it's the cuckoos that are the main brood parasites is what we call them, and it's a fascinating subject, is brood parasitism in birds. It's the cuckoos that do it. We've also got something called a widow finch, which is a little black finch-like bird that does it. They parasitize waxbills and other small finch-like birds. And then another bird called a cuckoo finch, which is a brood parasite, and some of the widers are brood parasites as well. So, fascinating subject. And what a brood parasite does, we've got one of two strategies. Either the adult will go in and toss out the host's eggs and lay the eggs in the host nest, or when the babies are born, they will kick out any unhatched eggs or kill the chicks of the host parents. All done entirely instinctually. They never learn this from anyone. They never actually meet their parents. So, I mean, you know how, I'm sure many of you have seen how some birds like swans and various others, geese, will impress on the first thing that they see. So, for example, there's a wonderful film, the name escapes me, about the Canada geese and the fact that the person that was trying to make them migrate to where, I think it was Canada geese, trying to make them migrate to where they had to go dressed in a suit that made him look like a goose, so that they didn't impress on a human being, because they will impress on a human being, and by impress I mean they'll only follow that thing and they'll see themselves as one of whatever they're impressed on. Now cuckoos, it doesn't seem to be the case. They don't have that impressing. Now, so that was the cuckoo discussion. Now Lisa, you wanted to see a lapwing nest. I've seen this Senegal lapwing that we're looking at now in this area 3 or 4 times, and I suspect that it does have a nest around here. A lapwing's nest, despite the fact that it is no more than a couple of eggs laid on the dirt, is notoriously difficult to find, because the eggs are so beautifully camouflaged to blend in with whatever vegetation there is around the place. So that's a Senegal lapwing, one of the rarer lapwings that we get here. You see its nest anywhere, Andrew?
Negative.
I've seen it sitting around here a few times, so we'll keep an eye on him and see whether he or she doesn't suddenly sit down. Walking very slowly, thinks it's being very stealthy. Just keep watching for a second. I just don't want to start the car. Sorry everyone if you give me aerial in your picture. Good job, Andrew. It'd be quite something if we managed to find Lisa a lapwing's nest on demand. Andrew's basically turned himself round like an owl's head. Yeah, that's it. That's the limit of it, I'm afraid. Right. Good job. Okay, I can't see any lion tracks here. I'm confounded as to how you managed to hear lions from the Djuma Dam without us having seen any tracks. So let's pop across to Arathusa if we can't hear something there. I suspect those microphones at the dam are better than I think they are. Right, we'll pop across to Arathusa and get a bit of an update. Brent is on foot, as you know. He has an interesting view to show you. I'll see you just now.
Okay. So you can see there's a depression in this little riverbed there, and not so long ago when we were tracking Karula in this block, we actually found a hyena sleeping, escaping from the heat in that little cave. So we're still in this area looking for the hyena den, and we're right on top of this drainage system. And the one thing that I think they might have a den in the drainage system, and I mean the drop off from where I am here is probably 6 meters, maybe even a bit more. So if they do have a den inside this very thick little drainage system, it's going to be near impossible for us to get a vehicle in, but still worthwhile knowing where it is. So every night we get a lot of sort of cackling and whining and stuff, and we can hear it, and it's coming from this general area. So that's why Bryan and I are checking very carefully all these spots. Every large termite mound, we've checked about 4. So far we've only found porcupine activity at them and one with aardvark activity, but no hyena activity yet. So unfortunately, because we're in this myriad of drainage systems, sometimes our signal's a little bit bad. So when we move now, we're going to send you back to James to see what he might have found on Arathusa. And we're going to keep checking very carefully through this drainage system.
Hello everyone. Leo Smith, Brent Leo Smith that is, and his instincts seem to have come up trumps again. I'm sure there is a hyena. I'm not sure if he actually found the hyena den while you were there with him, but I think he's pretty correct about it being in that area where he is. Right, we're approaching. No, it's still a guess. I think he is correct. We went walking in there the other day while we were looking for Karula, and we found 8 hyenas lying in and around the drainage lines there. So I think he's probably about right.
Ja, we van team plan of people in North here looks like this. North maybe.
Stop here.
Well, it's drunk here.
I'm just going to get an update here from Arathusa.
Magic very shortcut.
Morning stations, Arathusa. Any update for the morning? Not sure if anyone can hear me. Either that or they're not talking to me.
There's Volvo at Big Dam.
I don't think there's anything major going on here. We'll head across to the waterhole. Looks like I'm on a telephone, doesn't it? I don't think there's too much going on here. Sean, you copy, Sean? I don't know how that works. Okay, copy, thanks.
Lots of other stuff moving afterwards, birds, lizards, bees. So we've got a few different types of bees here. What you often call in Europe and in America, you call it the African killer bee, and that's our normal honeybee here. And then we've got quite a few different types of stingless bees, flightless bees, called mapani bees or sweat bees. And they, when it gets really hot, they like to buzz around your eyes and your forehead. They drink your sweat and they get all the water out of your eyes. And sorry guys, it seems that we're having some gremlins, so we're going to see what Jack, hopefully his strength is a bit better than ours.
Hello everyone. We're going to mute us, not because of any other reason than the fact that the stream is bad. So when it gets better, we're looking for some elephants. We will talk to you. Hi everybody, sorry about that, but what a treat this is. That is a tiny, tiny baby elephant. I don't think more than a few days old, if that. I'm going to be very sensitive for two reasons by not going any closer at this stage. Firstly, I'm not convinced the car will start. And secondly, because she's so little, the mother will obviously be very protective of her. Or him. I can't see whether that's a little her or a little him. But look, trying to suckle desperately. You can see a paler colour than the others, and I'm sure that's a result of the skin having not quite sort of got used to the outside atmosphere yet. I think that is no more than a few days old. So sweet. Oh, look. How she doesn't stand on it, I just cannot understand. Oh, look, it's got a little step to go down. What a treat. You can actually see a little bit of the umbilical attachment there on the little baby as well. So it's just her and two sort of young retainers and the baby. So the two young retainers here, I'm using the term retainer, it's not an official term at all. Oh, there's another big cow coming through there. So it is a little herd, and that birth would have been a great celebratory affair for this herd of elephants. I'm going to try and sneak a little bit forward. Sneak, of course, is something that Rusty is not very good at. Hear that, Andrew? Completely easy start. You will notice that I have placed, on Marianne's recommendation, some dung on the front of the car in the hopes that perhaps that will stop any further troubles. Slowly forward here. They are browsing through some pretty dense woodland. The youngster and her mother went in through there. Just melted into the bush. You see them there, Andrew?
Negative.
It's alright. We're definitely not going to go chasing them through there. There we go. I think they're actually just in front of us here. There. Okay. Okay, it's just in front of us. Still pink. Still pink. Okay, she seems quite relaxed, so I'm going to turn the engine off. Oh, look at the little pink thing. Okay, there are a few fairly large elephants coming to the side of us here.
Denk je aan
Hello, thank you for your understanding. Cool. That's a young bull, and I mean he could have, he wasn't really left with a choice. You could see him trying to decide whether he wanted to come past us or try and bash his way through the bush. And he thankfully, and I mean it's marvelous to have this kind of interaction with an elephant. He decided that we weren't enough of a threat for him to worry, and he walked within. Well, I mean, he basically brushed against the front of the car in a completely unthreatened fashion. He didn't shake his head. He didn't display any kind of aggression. So nice that we've managed to develop this kind of trust with some of the animals. That's not to say that my heart rate isn't at roughly 280 beats per minute at the moment. This is a tremendous special sighting. And the little one is still in there, you can see it. The little pink around the ears and pink around the side. Very unsure on his little feet. And as many of you are pointing out that you've never seen such a tiny elephant, I can't remember ever seeing such a tiny elephant myself. I mean, that's a few days old, unless you've seen it just being born. Yeah, you wouldn't have seen one any smaller than that. Andrew, have you seen one smaller?
No ways, that's
the smallest. Let's try and roll forward. There we go. There's our friend the young bull who came past us very kindly. And we're just going to stop here. It won't be the best view, but we'll just stop and see where they go. We're obviously not going to go charging in here after them. And the mother will be very wary of any kind of movement around that little baby. See the long hairs on the end of her tail. Oh, look, and there's a sibling or cousin just going to say hello. Look at that. Oh, that's so sweet. And that sibling or cousin will be very respectful to the mother, because the mother will be extremely defensive of the youngster. I wonder if that isn't a sibling, given how close it is to the adult. That's our little bull friend who came close to us. We'll just move a little bit forward. Rusty seems to be starting for now. Andrew. Very reticent to turn off Rusty's engine right now. Good. So I'm always in two minds about the engine, because you don't want to turn. Oh, look at that. They'll all be very protective over the little one. This old cow, who's the mother, has very clearly got a broken tusk on her right. Her right tusk is broken. So I think she's quite an experienced old cow. I don't mean old cow in a derogatory sense at all. Look at that. That is just spectacular. Oh, wow. This is just unbelievable. There's definitely still bits of umbilical cord stuck to the little one. And as Margaret says, it looks like Mummy's taking baby for a stroll, especially having seen how the little one walks. She's absolutely doing that. Unfortunately, a baby elephant must get up very quickly, and learning to use their legs is not an easy thing. But they've got to be pretty coordinated. They're vulnerable at that age. And they have to walk. Elephants need to eat so much, and that they need to move a huge distance almost from day one, because the whole herd, your mother especially, in order to maintain the nutrition that she has to have to produce the milk, must move big distances, especially this time of year when there's no grass around and there are only leaves, and so they do need to move quite big distances. I'm just going to let them go a little bit forward. You saw there, she's totally relaxed with us, but she did come through and she gave us a look. She turned her head like this and looked, opened her ears out slightly as if to say, look, I'm okay with this, but don't push it. And what we don't want to do is then break that trust. And because it's so thick and she can't really see what's happening, I'm just going to let them move forward. I think it does open out a little bit through there, and then we'll follow on through. There is another one coming through here. Another young bull. Gorgeous light at the moment. If you have perhaps just joined us, you will notice that there is a pile of dung on the dashboard. That is not to disguise our smell, and possibly didn't attract the bull that came so close. Thank you, Georgianne, for that suggestion. You want to know what it smells like, or does it smell? It's actually very, very pleasant. There's a kind of wafting sweet scent that is blowing over the vehicle, much more pleasant than any of the smells Rusty produces on her own. So I think it might become something of a permanent feature. It was put there because Rusty's struggling to start at the moment, and when I did a little dung demonstration earlier with some zebra and buffalo dung, Rusty then started to move. So I'm hoping that will be a lucky charm. We haven't had any trouble since putting the dung on the bonnet there. It's actually a very pleasant smell indeed. Elephant dung is not unpleasant. Let's move slowly down the road here. Now I'm not sure if you can feel the sighting from where you're sitting. It's very, very calm and quiet. And then from Ashley, you have noticed, of course, these elephants are not the same as another elephant that we get in Africa called the forest elephant. Very similar, but these ones are bigger, of course. Oh, sorry. Does that mean 5 minutes, Andrew? Okay. Andrew's playing charades with me. He's telling me that we will have to change the battery in 5 minutes, but that's okay. I'll just quickly get through your question, Ashley, which is a good one. So you want to know what the morphological, which means body type, sort of, and physiological differences between a forest elephant and a savanna elephant are. I'm just going to sneak carefully around the corner here. I don't know where the baby is. Ashley, I will get there. It is right there. All surrounding it, looking after it. I'm just going to switch off quietly here. Ashley, the difference is a forest elephant is smaller than these, so a big bull would probably be about the size of, say, that bull that's in that bull that's in picture now is about the size of, no, you know what, a big bull would be the size of that cow. The size of the mother cow.
Thought that was us, James.
I thought that was us too, Andrew. I must confess, I'm not sure that I can depress the clutch at this stage. let me tell you what happened there before I upchuck my coffee from this morning. Oh, I feel like I've just been sent to the headmaster's office. You know, that kind of surge of adrenaline you get where you feel like you've done something really bad. Right, we're okay. What happened there was that the cow, the mother, got irritated with this bull who was hanging around the baby. And that sound, I mean, it's deafening. It really is absolutely deafening. And she showed no reaction to the vehicle at all. She wasn't worried about us in the slightest. She chased the bull towards us, and he just happened to come towards us. I'm definitely not going to push her. I don't want to irritate her at all. She's clearly a little bit irritated, so we'll just leave them be, I think, from now. And so the bull came charging towards us, well, simply because he had nowhere else to go, really, and then he disappeared around the corner. He's standing here, totally relaxed. None of them have reacted to us in the slightest, which is just wonderful. So, sorry to disturb your question there, Ashley, but, well, things escalated slightly. So, forest elephant, smaller, basically, eats more leaves. There are many scientists that will tell you that the forest elephant is... Sorry, I'm really going to struggle to get my thoughts in order here. So I've just noticed something else interesting there. So let's just quickly finish the forest elephant discussion. The forest elephant is smaller. It eats more leaves because it lives in forests, obviously, and there are lots of people that actually think it isn't a separate species, and it's just a kind of slightly different animal that lives in a slightly different habitat. I suspect that they could interbreed. Can you get on to, Andrew, in between this one's legs? Now, this is a young bull. Now, cows are the ones that eventually chase the young bulls out of the herd. And it happens when they hit puberty and they go into their first must. Now, he's got a lot of moisture between his back legs. I've just seen that now. He might be going into his first must, and that will make him, she will be offended by him because he'll start to become a bit more rambunctious and a little bit more kind of pushy, and she will not tolerate that around her little baby. And I suspect that's why she reacted so badly to this chap being so close to her youngster. It had nothing to do with us at all. She was completely relaxed around us. Had everything to do with the fact that this bull irritated her in some way. Now, and the scream, that deafening scream, which you probably have heard on films like Jurassic Park. They used elephant noises a lot when they, as the sort of basis for many of those dinosaur calls. That scream that you heard, primal scream, came from this bull, not from the cow who was chasing him. Andrew, they're coming back across the road, the little one. There's the mother. She's crossing to and fro. Look at that. So Gretchen and Judy and many others, as you have correctly pointed out, this is a wonderful birthday surprise for me. Just very special to see indeed. Quite interesting above us. There's a battalion. I'm not going to ask Andrew to try and catch them unless they come very close. There's a tawny eagle and a battalion flying above us. Now those two birds are known to be carrion eaters, scavengers, and I'm just wondering if maybe there isn't an afterbirth around from that baby elephant. They will definitely go off and try and eat an afterbirth if they can find it. Excellent nutrition for an animal. Phew! Andrew, in one word, if you were to describe how that made you feel, what would it be?
Terrified.
Yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up for me too. But just so wonderful that the cow didn't react to us at all. Nor did he when he was chased towards us. Okay, we're going to drive down through there and around out of the... We're going to go out of the sighting now. I don't want to push her, as I've said, and she is going down into a drainage line towards some pretty thick bush, so I think we'll leave her alone and we'll carry on out. What an epic elephant sighting that was. Couple of, I'm afraid, radio communications breakups. So if I don't get your question right or your name, please do not be insulted. I'm not being rude. I can be rude sometimes, but I'm not being rude in this particular instance. Pat, I think you wanted to know about the baby there being able to reach the teats for suckling. She can. She can definitely reach up. We did see them reaching up, and she can just reach. And the mother will be, although she doesn't look like it, she'll be completely cognizant of that baby's attempts to suckle, and she'll be very careful that the baby can suckle. And when we watched them just before you came, or just before I started talking to you, I think you could see the elephants, but obviously I couldn't speak with you at the time. Yeah, they're going into the thickish bush there, so I'm not going to follow them down there. We could see that she just kind of leant over slightly so that the baby could reach the nipples, and they will do that. They can reach, and the mother will make sure. They don't look like they're paying a huge amount of attention to the baby, but they are so aware of where those youngsters are. They never get stood on, they never get harmed by anyone else in the herd, and the mothers are completely aware of where they are and what they're doing. So I think that you'll find that they're completely aware of whether they're eating or not eating. Andrew, I don't think we're actually on a road here. Do you?
I think we're on
You think we are?
the hay dump site.
I think we're at a hay dump site. Yeah, so we're actually in an area where they seem to dump some of the old thatch. This is pretty good fertilizer for the bush, although it looks a little unsightly, I'm afraid. But it's very good for the bush. Nice fertilizer. Forms a nice mulch. Always like that word, Andrew. Mulch. And we saw there the mother chasing the young bull, and he got very upset. And Ashley, you want to know, what do they do if there's some bullying in the herd? They do exactly what they just did there. There is sometimes bullying, especially amongst the younger bulls. They need to try and figure out what's going on in their lives, and just like with human beings, they'll test themselves against each other, against youngsters. If there is any bullying, it is not tolerated. The cows do not tolerate bullying in the herd, and they will eventually chase any bullying bulls away from the herd. And that's basically why a lot of the bulls go off on their own eventually around age 17. It's because the cows have had enough of them and their bullying ways. So they've gone off melting in there, and we're going to carry on this way. Woo. What a sighting. Just keep an eye on the Juma, not the Juma. I think just keep watching the Arathusa Dam camera. I think they may well end up down there at some stage having a drink. And thank you, Penelope, for that. You say that you think that sighting added 10 years to my age. Well, maybe I could concede to it being 33 this year. What do you think, Andrew? Right, let's see what else Arathusa has to offer us. Hopefully something a little less heart attack inducing. bit about the compost or mulch qualities of that thatch. As Heidi has pointed out, any dung would be considered mulch or compost too. Absolutely it would. And perhaps Rusty's a little more organic than we thought she was, and that's why she's functioning with a bit of mulch on the front of her. So let's see what else Arathusa has to offer us. Very nice elephants. There are no lions here as far as we're aware. Nothing in the way of a leopard either. But this is kind of the edge of Quatile's and Shadow's territories. And Karula was also, Karula wasn't seen around here. Quatile has been seen around here, so perhaps she might pop out. We still think Shadow and Tingana are mating on Hoffman's, which is where Brent was standing. They went south from where he saw them earlier their tracks earlier this morning. There don't seem to be a great deal of predators around, and that's not a problem, especially for that young elephant. I think this is a very good suggestion from a number of you who think that Rusty's name should perhaps be Dungy. Yes, that's pretty much, I think that's right up there with the standard of Rusty's general behaviour. Dungy is probably a good idea. Brent Leo Smith is continuing on his merry size 12s towards the Gari water or Juma waterhole. Let's go and catch up with him and see what he's found, and I will continue along the road in Arathusa.
So we've moved areas. Unfortunately, where we were looking for that hyena den, the signal was too bad in those very deep drainage lines. We did have audio of hyenas cackling maniacally, but it is in an area where we can't get any signal, as well as the fact we can't get a vehicle in there. It's basically in the corner of 5 drainage lines. So we've decided we've moved a little bit closer to camp, and we're walking down towards the waterhole. We're going to try to see if we can get a much closer at those deep catfish. And while we go, we'll keep looking for any other interesting things as we walk. And I had rude about Rusty, our new vehicle, and I have a slight suspicion that the birthday boy received more oil than any other Land Rover. Of Land Rovers drinking oil. We've just spotted a male giraffe at the same time he spotted us. And I'm sure it's one of that big group we saw on the quarantine clearings. So we're going to walk very, very slowly in a non-predatory fashion to try and get to this dead marula tree here. So very important, like in a vehicle when you're walking an animal, is not to walk directly at them. You want to try to take a sort of slight angle, and you're just meandering through the bush. You're not trying to eat them, and this normally means we can get a little bit closer than we would if we walked straight at them. We're just going to go bush. I think this is going to be a better way closer to these giraffe. And you notice I want them to know I'm here. Oh, there's a couple more. We're going to stop and have a look now. Yeah, there he is, one of the males. And he's quite aware we're here, but not too perturbed. They are one of the nicer animals to walk. Oh, he's decided he's going to move along. And I'm quite sure the rest of that group of 8 or 9 we saw bright and early this morning are in amongst these trees here. And I think what he's looking at when he looks that way is the other giraffe. Very, very wonderful creatures. And so nice to see that interaction this morning. So we're going to try reposition, and while we do that, we're going to head back to the birthday boy.
Hello everyone. The size 12s walking around the Juma Dam, I'm afraid, are struggling a little with the signal. Brent will try and find that giraffe again, and then we'll go back to him. Lovely watching giraffe on foot. I always find. We have not seen anything further, fear not. We did have a brief hiatus from the engine in Rusty, which was a bit disconcerting, but she seems to be back online now. I've gone the wrong way. I need to go the other way. I always do this very junction. It's the next road to the right that I want. I'm just going to stop, park next to this lovely tree, which has unfortunately finished its flowers. Now this is called a tree wisteria, or Bolusanthus speciosus. Try and say that after you've woken up after a heavy night. Bolusanthus speciosus. Say it, Andrew? Yeah, exactly. And it has beautiful purple flowers, and like so many of the flowers out here, when the flowers come, they're stunning, but they only last for a maximum of a week. And I'm hoping, there are a few gardenias around here, and I've said this before, my favorite flower, beautiful smelling flower. None of them are flowered yet, but they last 2 or 3 days, and then they're gone again for another year. And that seems to be the case with many of the kind of beautiful flowers around here. Just keep the revs up a bit. There we go. We're out. Okay, Brenty's a bit closer. Let's go back to him. I'll see you just now.
So it seems to be a wonderful day full of giraffes, and I was talking about non-predatory behavior, and now the fact that I'm sitting down here, he's completely relaxed. There's some others behind him, and he's just keeping a curious eye upon us. And he's more interested in the female off to the left that he's been chasing all morning. And so he's moving back towards the female. It's so nice to just sit down in the bush, take in all the sights, the smells, the sounds. Quite a lot of different birds calling. I think the most prominent
Sorry about that. That is a dodgy signal area where Brent is, unfortunately. And just such fun to be with a giraffe on foot. Anyway, he will continue to try around there, and if he gets lucky, Sorry, I've just got to show you something else here because I've probably shown you this a few times, but this is the best example of it that I've ever seen. Oh, sorry, that's not good. I have to get around to that. This, Andrew, is a
Tree.
round-leafed teak. Thank you. Yes, I think most people could see it was a tree. But it's not one tree. It is one tree. I'm now going to walk around this one tree. Isn't that amazing? That's one plant. And these, I've only noticed it this year since I got to Juma. I've seen hundreds and thousands of these round-leaf teaks. They get so mangled by elephants that the rootstock becomes this huge kind of bulbous, unwieldy mass of wood under the ground here. I think if you were to pull this piece of wood out, it would weigh over 5 tons. It's an enormous mass of wood under the ground because it keeps getting cut off, and so it grows and then sticks up a few more sticks, and then they get cut off and it grows a bit more, and it's grown. It's probably 200 years old around here. It's an enormous plant, and yet it looks young because it has to put up these new young shoots that the elephants will eventually destroy, and it'll start again. I think it's absolutely fascinating, and there are lots of them. We see lots of these shoots coming out the ground, and I've started to investigate them far more this year, and they're huge numbers that are much bigger than we think they are, and this one is the biggest one I've seen. I would say probably 3 to 5 tons of wood under the ground here, and I would put this plant at about, I'd say 200 years. Amazing. Roundleaf teak, Pterocarpus angolensis. A bit easier to say than Volusanthus speciosus, not so, Andrew?
That's correct.
Plug myself in. Hope Rusty starts. Come on, you old bag. There we go. Oh, no. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We'd love to go across to Brent, but unfortunately his doesn't have any signal at the moment. Ravi in New York, you suggest that perhaps Rusty is a psychological disadvantage to this hunk of junk, as it were, and perhaps that's why she's not working. She's feeling kind of hurt by her name. I'd say that she needs to prove us wrong, is what I think. Right, let's try once more. Come on, old girl. Just let it rest a bit. So, while we wait for Rusty to come out of her sulk, we have a lovely question from Ellen in Arkansas about the birth of elephants and whether or not there is noise from the mother, and would that attract predators, and do the other elephants stand around and protect it. It's exactly what happens. I don't think the mother makes a huge amount of noise while she's giving birth, depending on, elephants do make a noise when they're in pain, so if there's a lot of pain, perhaps. But the other elephants will all stand around and protect it, and they make a big noise, they make a big fuss of the mother who's giving birth. It's a kind of joyful celebration. It's a wonderful thing to read about, certainly. I've never seen it personally, but I've spoken to people who've seen it. And we didn't miss it by much today with that little pink calf. And so all of the elephants will gather around and protect completely the mother and the calf while she's giving birth. So there's definitely a huge amount of protection. There would be noise from the others, but you know, no predator worth his salt or her salt is going to go near a herd of elephants making a noise. Once an elephant gets beyond, say, 3 or 4 years, unless they're in a place like Chobe or Savuti, where there are prides of lions that will specialize in killing elephants, and once in this area, there may be 4 or 5 years, especially in the herd. They're pretty much immune to attacks from predators around here. All right, let us just pretend that everything is okay and start the car. Are you ready, Andrew? There we go. Thank you, Rusty. You old bat. Beautiful birds now, and I spoke a little bit earlier about the air of expectation that covers the early morning, and that atmosphere changes slightly as we go into this time of the day, and different birds calling batises, the odd chagra going. Now, very tuneful songs, and as we drive along through the tuneful song, what we're going to do is head across to Brent, who is the opposite of tuneful, very skilled in the wild, but not that tuneful. Let's head across to him. He's on quarantine. He's got a nice pack of signal going, so he'll tell you something interesting, and we're heading back towards Juma now.
So we've been watching these giraffe eat these bush willows, so I decided, yes, no, I'm not a giraffe. Even the young, fresh leaves are very tanniny, but it's worth seeing why the animals like these things. I definitely am an omnivore, not a herbivore, and I think I prefer vegetables over leaves, or apart from rocket. But so you can see nicely here how the giraffe are going after the very young fresh leaves. Obviously, maybe if I was taller and I could get to the fresh leaves at the top, maybe they taste better than the ones at the bottom. But then we've got a large fruited bush willow here. So, and that's what those giraffe we've seen been feeding on while we were walking down towards the dam a little earlier. So we decided to try and have a look at this one. And very, very when they we just noticed it disappeared down the hole. It's disappearing down the hole. It's digging the hole. There's a dung beetle. Unfortunately, we seem to be having some signal issues, but if Bryan moves very, very slowly around this way, you can see the dung beetle's bottom. There we go. You can see the sand coming out. So there's this really fresh pile of wildebeest dung here, and this dung beetle, not all of them roll balls. Some of them, there we go, look at this. Isn't that fascinating? Look at that. Digging the hole. So not all of them roll balls. Some of them will be based around the dung pile. And so it'll try to just take some dung right down that hole to feed the eggs. Where others will roll balls and move it away and then dig a hole and bury it. So, and I mean, if I remember correctly, there's something like 30,000 different types of dung beetles in Africa. And all of them can fly, except for one, which is the flightless dung beetle that only occurs in Addo National Park in the Cape. Here it comes again, working like a bulldozer, using its head as a bulldozer to excavate. And this one actually, if we have a closer look when he comes out again, the shape of the head is almost like a bulldozer. And it's just digging, digging, digging. And this is very fresh wildebeest dung. It's actually glistening. And I can see the culprit over Bryan's shoulder. We'll have a look, and he's watching us inspect his dung. There he is. It's absolutely incredible. I'm going to see if you guys can hear this by doing something quite strange. I don't think we've ever tried this before. So I apologize for the bumps in the microphone. I've taken my mic out and I can actually, oh, there's the dung beetle. I've got that shovel-shaped head. And I can actually hear him with my ears digging. So I'm going to put my mic there, see if you guys can hear that. Isn't that incredible? You can hear him digging. Isn't that amazing? So who would have thought? We've never tried this before, because quite often on the bushwalk, because we're on, oh, here he comes. And down it goes again. Isn't that incredible? We've never tried that before, but maybe that's something, because quite often our audio is quite limited to, because this mic is right here. But this is a nice little trick to try. I mean, because I can hear it with my ear, my naked ear quite often. So really, really cool that I was able to share that with you guys, to hear him scratching through the sand, digging and pushing. And this is the amazing thing about being on foot. I mean, the likelihood of us spotting that dung beetle digging right next to a pile of dung is almost zero. It's amazing that. And wow, it has been there he comes again. And if he slows down a little bit, if you get a shot of his head, his head is shaped almost like a shovel. Look at it. Oh, wildebeest is talking to us. He's moved away, but can you hear him? Boom, behind us. He's actually not calling for us, he's calling for ladies. Boom, boom. But I don't know if you can see this little bit here, Bryan. There's a different, let me try to get out of the light. Is it now a dung beetle with a different strategy is already here, and it's actually buried a section of the dung. And so we'll lay the eggs, and it's amazing how such small niches are formed around something as simple as a pile of wildebeest dung. So we've got two very different, unique strategies to utilize this dung. There we go. Up comes the bulldozer. I'm not sure what the proper name for this dung beetle is, but I think we should call him the caterpillar dung beetle. Oh, Bryan, he's coming right behind us. He's checking you out. Look, the wildebeest has come to inspect us. Oh, there he goes. He obviously thinks we're up to something, some form of mischief with his dung. No, I think he's in search of the ladies who have abandoned him. So those who watch the Juma dam cam, that wilde is charging towards your camera right now. And what I'm hoping is we're going to stay here for a little bit longer, is that he might have decided he's done enough excavation and take a piece of dung down. But here he comes, bulldozer again. So obviously they do need to dig quite deep. Dung beetle larvae are favored foods of quite a few different animals, and probably the more interesting one that loves dung beetle larvae are honey badgers. And they will actually listen to the larvae feeding under the ground and then dig from there to get the larvae. And you will often find different places where the dung beetle larvae have been dug up, and that's the dung beetles that roll the big balls. And you will find where that big ball of dung has been broken up and honey badger tracks everywhere. I can still hear it. It's really, really deep, much deeper than it was. if we can do this again quickly. It's like spying on a secret world. Here he comes. So I think this is the world's first mic'd up dung beetle. So we're gonna say goodbye. It's been a wonderful but slightly erratic sunrise safari, and you guys were here for the world's ever first mic'd up dung beetle, but we're gonna send you back to James so you can say goodbye on his birthday, and we'll try be nice to him today.
Hello everyone, and almost time for us to say goodbye to you. An enormous thank you to all of you for your well wishes on the occasion of my 23rd birthday. Very nice of you to send through so many well wishes, and equally marvellous of those elephants to bless us with such an incredible sighting. Thank you, Andrew, on camera. Thank you for not panicking when we nearly got smashed. And thank you very much, of course, to Bryan and Brent for their wonderful singing. Tara and Louise will sing to me later, as will Eugene. We will see you this afternoon at about 4 o'clock our time. Stay safe and happy wherever you are. It will still be my birthday this afternoon, which is a good thing. Bye-bye, and see you later.